Welcome back to my channel. You may remember this vanity I attempted to and failed to flip a few weeks back. It was overall in good condition, just very red toned. I tried to finish with some gel stain I was not happy with and ultimately decided to scrap it all together and remove the work I had done and start all over. Since I had already started this flip, I had already cleaned it really well, so here's a few clips of that, but if you missed that video and would like to catch up on it, I'll have it linked for you. When I moved on to plan B, which was to sand everything back to bare wood, I ended up blowing through the veneer not once, but in several different spots. So I ended up scrapping that idea too. I decided for plan C, which was to paint and do a paint and wood combo. So I could try and still display some of that nice wood grain and keep some of its old characteristics. First, I needed to tape off all of the sections I needed to protect from the primer and the paint. For these decorative pieces on the legs, I wanted these to be painted so they could stand out and pop against the wood. I just taped and then cut it to shape with my knife.
I actually need a quick break before I continue to work. I've talked to you in the past how I enjoy playing June's Journey as a way to be able to take a quick break both mentally and physically from furniture flipping throughout the day, which is why I'm glad to be working with them again and happy to say that they are sponsoring today's video. If you haven't heard, June's Journey is a free downloadable mobile game where you find hidden objects. It's set back in the 1920s where the main protagonist, June Parker, is trying to solve the murder of her sister, all while taking you through the thrilling murder mystery scenes. I mostly enjoy trying to find the hidden objects, especially when I have trouble finding them, simply because I'm overlooking them. I find it fun and relaxing, but thrilling all at the same time. I like to play for 10 minutes at a time. I'll set a timer, and once that timer is up, then I feel usually refreshed enough to be able to get back to my work and continue working. You can download June's Journey for free using the link down in my description or scan the QR code that you see here on the screen. It is available on Android and iOS mobile devices, as well as on PCs via Facebook Games. Thanks again to June's Journey for supporting this channel and sponsoring today's video. Now back to work.
I thought it would look best if I painted all of the plywood sections and then left the solid wood without paint. I really liked using the green frog tape for really crisp lines, so I made sure to use it on the side panel so I could make sure I kept that wood surrounding the plywood super clean. I had a couple of open cans of Kiehl's original oil-based formula on hand, so I used that to spray a single generous coat. On this day specifically, it was super windy, so I stuck to using short bursts instead of spraying more continuously to avoid wasting product that would otherwise just be blown away. Once it was completely dry, I came back and lightly sanded the primer smooth and got rid of any small imperfections or bumps from the spraying. I used my surf prep, but you could certainly do it by hand. Up until recently, I used to use these soft sponges that worked just as great. So you definitely don't need any fancy equipment to do that. I like to personally blow off as much of the dust I've created first before going back and wiping down anything else that is remaining. I missed some nail holes before priming, so I went ahead and filled those in afterwards. Sometimes it's nice to even wait to fill in small imperfections in between coats of primer because the white really makes them stand out. Since the areas I will be painting are not much, I will be using a sample size paint to get the job done, and it should be plenty. I'm using the color Sturdy Brown by Bear. And yes, I do like to occasionally use regular household paint. I know it can be controversial, but I have found that it really does work well, and it's just as durable as some of the boutique style furniture paints when applied correctly. One of the main things to keep in mind with a paint like this is to not overwork the paint because it'll get streaky pretty quickly. You always want to make sure and use thin coats, even if that means having to do additional ones to get full coverage. I have always found that 2 to 3 coats gives me excellent coverage. When I don't use a sprayer, I also like to use a brush followed by a roller to smooth out any of those lines out. Be careful not to press too hard on the roller because then it could leave a more textured look and you're wanting more of a smooth finish. So if you're just starting out and limited on supplies or tools, this is an excellent way to get it done for less without sacrificing on the finish. In between coats of color, I used one of these soft sponges and lightly sanded. This helps with adhesion for the following coat, but be sure to remove the dust you create and then apply the paint just like you did the first coat. As you can see here, the finish speaks for itself. It's super smooth and flawless, just like if I would have sprayed it. After removing all of the plastic and tape, I used the same container I had my paint in and poured a bit more paint, following it up with some water in equal parts to create a paint wash. I am applying this on all of the remaining parts that did not get painted. I did a single coat of the paint wash and then it was time to seal everything. For the sealer, I am using a matte polyacrylic. I chose to use this sponge applicator to make sure I kept the finish as smooth as possible and to minimize brush strokes. I did two coats, but I did sand lightly between the two. If you don't have a sponge sander, you could also use regular sandpaper. I added some furniture wax to the drawer guides to help moisten them so the drawers could slide in and out smoothly. After vacuuming out the drawers, I added this really simple peel and stick paper. I was a little disappointed that it didn't have any cutting line guides on the back like a lot of them do, but other than that, it was super easy to work with. Once I placed it in the drawer and I smoothed it down, I took a knife and removed the excess that it had. I find it a lot easier to over measure and overcut and then remove any excess from the drawer as opposed to it being the exact measurements. I followed the same process until all of the drawer fronts were done, and then I put them back in. I did have to re-drill the holes because the pre-existing ones were smaller than I needed them to be. I added new hardware, and lastly, I wanted to add back some patina to the details on the legs. So with a small brush and some dark wax, I just added some around the areas where it would naturally patina, especially on the areas where I wasn't able to remove all of the old finish. And just for a little glimpse, this is how staging usually gets done these days, carrying an extra 20 pounds on me, but with additional hands to help as well. Just a quick reminder, this is what we started with, and this is what it looks like now. Don't forget to leave me your thoughts down in the comment section below. I'm really glad I didn't give up on this piece, and it looks like the third time was the charm for it. I really like how it turned out, and hopefully we can get a quick sell. I love y'all, be kind, and I'll see y'all next week. Bye!